Today's podcast is supported by Amazon Studios presenting A Hero from Asghar Farhadi, writer and director of the Academy Award-winning films The Separation and The Salesman, and winner of the Grand Prix at the Cannes Film Festival. A Hero is Iran's selection for Best International Feature Film. The Hollywood Reporter calls it one of the best films of the year. For your consideration in all categories, including Best International Film, A Hero is in theaters January 7th and streaming January 21st on Prime Video. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the AwardsWatch Oscar Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Anderson, as usual. And we are at the end of November, recording this on the way to December, which is going to be an absolutely crazy ride as we get into critics season. And I am not flying solo today. I have a very special guest. Well, a guest, maybe special. I don't know. We'll see. Who do I have? From In Session Film, Bussing the Block, and Awards Watch, Ryan McQuade. Hello, Ryan.
You've invited me back. This is weird. Back-to-back episodes.
Against, everybody wrote a bunch of very hateful but justified emails of not having you back. And I said, no, I'm going to give him a second chance. And
It's
here
okay.
you are.
Yeah, and they were probably all Lady Gaga stands too. So
They might have been. So,
yeah.
Sometimes they are right. It's,
Yeah.
you don't know.
Yeah.
So like I said, we're recording this on November 30th at the end of the month. This is going to drop on December 3rd. So we'll have a few things happen since then, but we have a few things that already have happened. Last night were the Gotham Awards, and it was a pretty clear and decisive victory for Ryan's favorite movie of the year, The Lost Daughter. And Ryan, you were saying something just before we started recording about that and what your thoughts about those wins might be. What was that exactly again?
Well, it's nice to know that The Lost Daughter won something because it's not going to win anything the rest of this Oscar season. So because it won the Gothams, and Gothams are like the National Board of Review and like poison for your Oscar chances. So there you go.
That's brutal. That's the cruelty and the misogyny knows no bounds.
I'm just saying it's the honesty, and she's part of the New York, sort of crowd, and that's totally a New York vote. And, I'm sure the Swifties won't allow it to happen from here on out, for any more wins, just hashtag release the scarf. And
wow.
Then we'll just, and then
this
that'll
can
just
be
happen.
The shortest podcast that I've ever done.
You know what?
Wow.
If the Swifties and me can unite on one thing, it's that we're going to take down the Gyllenhaals. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. This will be Ryan's last podcast. So if you have enjoyed him, please do not listen again.
I love you. No, it was interesting to see them. Obviously, I was seeing the results after what we'll talk about next, because we were both at a film last night. A lot of support for that. We have to remember that voting body just is very selective.
Well, it's very small. There's five
very
people.
Small.
Five people make up the nominations and make up the winners, and they're
you can
critics.
Tell. You can tell.
Not necessarily, because I think one of the things that stood out with this compared to even just last year, there weren't any wins that were like slightly surprising and from films that very few people have seen. This was, like I said, it was pretty decisive to go with The Lost Daughter. It won 4 of its 5 nominations, passing Lost all 5 of its. So awkward. And Coda won 2.
Yeah.
So I think because those movies were already in the conversation, it helps them. It does help them. It doesn't mean that 5 people are deciding a race. It just means that they have one thing that other movies don't already. And then National Board of Review will come out on the 2nd, and New York critics on the 3rd. It'll be really interesting to see if the New York critics are in line with the Gothams as much.
I don't think
as
so.
much. I don't think as much.
I think a little movie named Power of the Dog is going to have a really big day for them.
I think so too.
In National Board of Review, I mean, flip a coin. It's like King Richard or Cry Macho. It's something from Warner Brothers. So, or maybe it's the film we'll talk about here soon.
Well, I'm actually, we can talk about it later. I'm predicting Power of the Dog for NBR, but we'll see.
Really?
I am.
That's very ambitious for them.
I think so. Or Belfast. I'm like, one of those two.
Well, they did go with Defy Bloods last year.
They did.
And they killed that. And they killed that train.
There used to be like an actress curse from the National Board of Review, which is not like why I chose Ann Dowd to win there, but she has won there before, and it was not good for her. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
She's gonna come after you for that.
I know, and she will grab my hand and she will break it with kindness, though.
She'll rip your throat out.
Yeah, but she'll be smiling when she does it, and I will be thankful for it.
So yes,
it's okay. Yes. Let's talk about the movie that you alluded to that we both saw last night, and obviously, if you were on social media, we both saw West Side Story, Steven Spielberg's adaptation of West Side Story. And I think this is certainly one of the late unseen films that people were highly anticipating, whether nervously or anxiously or with hope. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. That opening crane shot that should be enough to get Janusz Kaminski into the top 5 cinematography, where he has often enjoyed a place. And I thought the little changes that it made were rather significant. I thought it gave more agency to people that needed it more in this version of the story. Mm-hmm. And I can't fault a single person's singing. There were definitely some better than others, and styles that were different. Rachel Zegler, oh my goodness. I believe she might be an actual angel, because she was working on an operatic theatrical level that was incredible.
I mean, chills when they're singing Tonight, and I think it was 20th Century Fox, if I'm not mistaken, released the clip of that today. And I watched it like 6 or 7 times. And it's mostly because she's a revelation. I mean, it is the biggest surprise of the year, this movie, because I think most of us, we were very skeptical because it is a remake of a classic. And it is a remake of what a lot of people consider one of the greatest musicals, if not one of the greatest Best Picture wins of all time. And Steven Spielberg, for all the great movies that he's ever made, has had a track record recently of sort of coasting through his back half of his career. And for me, Eric, I thought this was sort of harking back to the magic and creativity that he used to have. And like, how like you see, and this is a terrible comparison, but just hear me out. When you see The Wolf of Wall Street and you see that movie, because you're like, oh my God, it seems like a young man making that movie, and instead of this old veteran. And what this movie showed us, like, this felt like an old man. I mean, getting revitalized and going to the fountain of youth. And this is the best Spielberg movie in years, probably his best since Munich. If not, Catch Me If You Can.
That's what I said earlier. Yeah,
I think. I mean, I know we'll talk about predictions and all of it, and it's been a crazy day for that. But it's kind of one of those movies where it's really undeniable when you see it. I think it's gonna make money, which is gonna be big for it. And yeah, the cast is great. DeBose, my God, her dancing. and her singing. I think that their takes on the character, her and Ziegler, are maybe even better than the original, which is saying a lot because of Rita Moreno's Oscar-winning performance. Definitely better than Natalie Wood, because Ziegler actually sang.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna fault Wood too much for that. But
I mean,
Tony and Maria are not the best written characters as they are, and it's the supporting characters that have always shined. And DeBose being a great singer is not a mystery.
No,
but
her being that talent and that the way she dances and controls the screen. And I saw this in IMAX, and my God, the America sequence, geez Louise, it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And
and that's one of the great examples of moving the action from the 1961 version, from that rooftop party to this like block party in the sun. That was the most Technicolor gorgeous moment, because you have these color stories being told with these yellow and red and orange dresses, and their skin is just dewy and dappled, and the dancing is absolutely extraordinary. And because it's all movement from street to street, it's more kinetic, and you're really moving, and it's, oh my gosh. Yeah. I can't wait to see it again.
And I'm going to say this, and I know this might make a lot of people upset, but I think Ansel Elgort is very good in the film. And I think that this is maybe, man, every movie seems like this, like this does not help me with predictions, because of the fact that you could see it being across the board contender. You can see it picking up though, like 5 or 6. I think picture's definitely on the table. I think director's definitely on the table for nominations. I'm not talking about wins.
Yeah.
I'm talking about wins.
Yeah. Good.
Wins are a totally different story. We're not in the win department yet, folks.
We are not.
We're in the. We are not. So when I say it's in this conversation, I'm talking about for nominations. I'm not talking about for wins.
No, the window is not open.
No, that's just for like 2 more months at least.
Yes.
And I mean, yeah, I cannot stress enough also how great Rita Moreno is too in her supporting performance as well.
Who had much more than I thought she was going to have. Exactly.
And is really sort of the through line to the past and the present. It's also this really great commentary. It always has had that, but I think it even with Tony Kushner, it really feels like a modern retelling, even though it's set in the past. Mm-hmm. And so I know some people are very clingy to the original, but this is like seeing a revival on Broadway with a brand new cast and new ideas and his take. And yeah, Steven Spielberg, my God.
I regard it as an adaptation and not a remake. It is using source material. It's not a remake of the film.
It's not like Gus Van Sant's Psycho, where it's shot for shot.
It's something else entirely.
Yeah, that's bad. This is great, and I implore many people to see this, because
like I said, I don't think that there is a bad singing performance in this. I think everybody is great. I think there are varying levels of better acting versus less good acting. And I don't want to dig too hard, but I do think Rachel Zegler, as great as her singing voice was, didn't really have a lot going on for me visually in her face. It was a little.
I'm watching what you're about to say here.
No, she was just a little robotic, a little bit. Versus when you compare to Ariana DeBose or Mike Feist or David
yeah.
Alvarez, and there is animation. And again, but that's sort of part of the characters
It's
of
part
Tony
of the
Maria.
character, and it's her first.
Yeah.
And but I mean,
that's why I'm not slighting her. I'm not slighting her because Ansel Elgort is the same way.
He is,
not,
but they
it's
are
not a
playing,
great performance from him. But
no,
his singing is
it's good. It's not amazing. Like they're both they have really good chemistry, and
they do.
You can tell that, and I think
and they let them be
the
horny,
best out of them,
and they let them feel like they're at the beginning,
young lovers.
It's
you buy into all of it, and I mean,
and they all certainly look closer in age to what they're supposed to be.
Yes, and I also think the only one thing I will say about the movie is that I do think at times it is too dark. The color palette, I do think that it's not as rich as the original. I think that at times it's very beautiful, and then at other times I'm like, man, this looks really dirty. Like it looks like Warhorse. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's like Warhorse by the end of that, where like where the horse is taking the tank in the mud. That's what it feels like at times. And I'm like, God, it's like, would it kill you to maybe tint it up a little bit?
But to get a key light on this here?
Yeah, exactly. But and a lot of also, like, I didn't know J.J. Abrams decided to hand back over the lens flares either, too.
Yeah,
there's a little much.
It really could have been Lens Flare the movie at some points. But I liked it.
But, sometimes it's his thing.
Sometimes it was super effective, like when they're underneath the bleachers and you have is the lights coming. You know, I thought that was really, really cool and a good use of it. But I think I get what you mean, and a lot of the night stuff is pretty dark and moody, and there are and things that are under, like in the basement of Doc's shop, lots of shadowed faces. But I think it's fine because the rest of the movie, when it's outside and it's sun, is bright and vivid, and again those color stories. The dance at the gym,
holy hell,
the color story being told by the costuming of reds, pinks, burgundies, and oranges for the sharks, and the jets being blue and green. And I was just like, I am so in love right now with the story that I'm seeing.
I mean, he really just nails it. I mean, the dancing and the choreography and the music, and I mean, you just think, and that's the thing is, I think when people ask, like, because I put on in my reaction, I was just like, this should prove that we should stop doubting Steven Spielberg. And people are like, people doubted Steven Spielberg. It's like, yeah, have you seen the last couple efforts? Like, man directed the BFG not that long ago. You know what I mean? It's not like, you know, it's not like he's always been knocking him out of the park, but he just, and this is also very cautionary, and we were all very nervous about it. And I think it was like, man, he just nailed it. He knew what he was doing. It is a testament to someone that this movie in 1961 moved him. It was a life-changing event for him.
Yeah.
And it makes me even more exciting to see his, for lack of a better term, his Belfast next year when he does his sort of autobiography thing or whatever. Because if this is the sort of wonder that we're getting back, the magic that Steven Spielberg can provide, then what is that movie going to be? And I think he's not going to be on top of predictions, I think, this year for wins, but this will be like one of those, okay, he was great here. And then next year when we're doing a year in advance or we're getting into the race, like I'm already looking to next year thinking, good God, what is that movie going to be? And my expectations are now through the roof, and they shouldn't be, because I should keep them tempered. And but damn it, it's always it's there's something great about seeing Steven Spielberg deliver, and it takes you back to your childhood, or as for you, your Middle Ages. You know what I mean? So
yeah, well, considering it was the Middle Ages. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You saw fire discovered.
Exactly. I was gonna say something and you kind of just threw me off there, but no. I was thinking about it's, as much as I love it, it's not without its faults. I think there are moments. I'm glad that he avoids sentimentality really for the most part, almost entirely. But there are moments, because there are 3 significant depths in this movie.
Today's podcast is also supported by Amazon Studios, presenting My Name is Polly Murray from the directors of RBG, a documentary chronicling both the personal path and tireless advocacy of the social justice warrior whose work foreshadowed some of the most politically consequential issues of our time. The San Francisco Chronicle calls it jaw-dropping, an extraordinary documentary. For your consideration in all categories, including Best Documentary Feature, My Name is Polly Murray is streaming now on Prime Video.
The responses to them by the people that need to respond to them the most, I feel like they got short shrifted a little bit. All of them, all 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And like the scene being cut too quickly or cut away from them too quickly, so that we miss being with them in that moment.
Yeah.
And I that's what the end doesn't quite live up to the rest of the movie for me as a result of that.
Fair. No, that's fair. I agree.
But because these are, obviously very substantial losses in the movie, and so you want to be able to sit with those people, with them for a moment, just a moment, and you don't really get as much of that as I thought we would get.
There are I will also admit, though, while the opening shot you said is great, and it is, the first sequence in the film between the Jets and the Sharks, I wasn't a big fan of. And I was like sitting there going, oh no, we're not doing this, are we? Like if it kept up that sort of tone, maybe, or like something was off about it. And then you meet Tony and you meet Maria and you start fleshing it out, and then you start doing other things and you stop worrying about, because I never actually give a crap about that conflict in the original or whatever, because it's all so stupid. But it being very like examined on in the beginning, I was just like, God, this is no. Like, I was just like, please don't make this the whole thing. And it wasn't, because then I think you get into the emotions of the characters and everything. But I do agree with you. I think the movie's not perfect. It is very entertaining, but it's not without its pacing. It's sort of it's got a message that it's trying to get there, but I don't think it fully commits to it or tries to go all the way. And that's where Kushner's involved.
Yeah, I think he does tremendous things with this adaptation.
I think he does a great job. I just don't know if he nails the landing of a lot of those things. But there is a moment between DeBose and Rita Moreno.
I know they get to the characters and actresses meet face to face.
They get a moment. They get a moment, and it's a line that DeBose says to her, and it was like a shot to the heart, like when she said it, because the fact that it was very, it's very Kismet at that moment, but it's also like, it's just like in the moment after what had just happened to the character, you're just like, holy crap, she's saying that to someone that's, we as the audience know has been through that same thing. And it's very generational, and without having to point it out. I think. And then
I don't know.
Moreno gets on the nose with that too, and it's a little much there.
It is, but I appreciate that scene didn't feel like a wink at all, which it really
very serious.
Could have quite easily, especially from Spielberg, because he does like to venture into that.
He dabbles in enough nostalgia to keep the magic afloat without it being like a Star Wars movie.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Where it's a complete like fan jerk fest.
Yes. I think I want to transition now to a conversation about crowd pleasers, because this is certainly a crowd pleaser type of film and could do well at the box office. And it seems like this is a conversation that's happening quite a bit. Sometimes I want to just mute certain words out of different award seasons, and this year it's accessible and crowd pleaser.
And slog.
And
You don't
slog,
like
yes, slog. If I never hear the word slog again,
I used it for a review a couple weeks ago, or like a post the other week when I think it was with House of Gucci, and you put that right after. I was like, and then I was like, oh, is Eric talking about me? And then everybody else used it, and I was like, oh no, he's talking about everybody else.
Oh no, it's everybody. I would have edited that right out. But we've got.
Well, it wasn't for you. But.
We've got. I know we have King Richard and Belfast, which are being called crowd-pleasing films too, not by the box office, but by people. And I'm wondering, is that a narrative that people are going to run with this year of all years? Are we looking to a movie to feel good about, or to be able to celebrate as you watch it? I'm not sure if that's really going to happen the way that people think it's going to happen.
So are you saying that in terms of nominations, or are you saying that in terms
no,
of
I mean like
winner?
wins? People are like, this movie is going to win because it's a crowd-pleasing movie.
Well, I think
there are people today that put West Side Story at number 1 on their Best Picture list. And
that's
I'm like, if you've been doing this for more than 10 minutes, you should probably not do that.
It needs to build. Like, I know the knee-jerk reactions, I'm sure we'll talk about stuff, have been out of control with a lot of movies. I mean, last week or the week before or whatever, it was Being the Ricardos. You know what I mean? And,
yes. And Don't Look Up, and
and Come On at one point, I think, even because like that movie is very charming. It makes you feel, it. I think the thing is that after last year, Eric, I do think that there is, based off the films in the race, a clinging to the idea of something to make us feel better. I think I love Nomadland, but that is a movie, not entirely, but unintentionally about isolation. And in a year where we were all isolated. And I think that there's, with King Richard, with Belfast, West Side Story, those movies are, even Being the Ricardos, I would say too. They're funny. Tick, Tick, Boom. They're crowd pleasing. They're funny. They're heartwarming. They're relatable. They have sort of some of them have familiar or family elements to them as well. And I think people are really responding to those. Now, box office wise, the best one of the bunch is probably going to be West Side Story, because it is a existing property, and it'll do well with that. But
but talk about a movie that doesn't have a happy ending.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it has so much vivaciousness within it that you can market the hell out of that and not have to talk about it being that sad ending. And everybody knows the ending because that story's been around for years. It's Romeo and frickin' Juliet. So,
well, yes, we're talking about a property as old as time. So, talking around it, like it's spoilers is a little silly.
I know. I just,
but yeah, no, I'm
they look at you. They look at you last night and they say, "Don't spoil it." Like my PR person told me, "No spoilers," and I'm like, "It's West Side Story."
Oh, you mean I can't tell people Tony dies? Oh no. Oh,
you mean I can't spoil the songs in the movie and what their titles are? Oh my God, how will I live?
I know.
I don't know. Hang me on, hang me high or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I think that with those predictions were just terrible today. People were a lot for the limited I saw, because the movies that are still at the front of the pack are at the front of the pack for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they played more than just for critics. They played for Academy members. They played for
general audiences.
General audiences. They played for a wide variety of people at various film festivals won audience awards, won over the hearts of Academy members that I've talked to, that you've talked to, that are in the bag for them. And then King Richard comes out, and minus all some of the dumb commentary, that movie is like, I think even gaining more steam because of the fact that like it's marketing and Will Smith and the Williams sisters and everyone just has gone hard for it.
Yeah.
And I think if anything, we're starting to really, these other films need to start coming out and gaining traction, because it feels like we might be separating ourselves from those top two more and more as we're talking. But I think that for a winner, yeah, there's a reason why they're at the top. It's because you have to, with the best picture, have people feel things, whether those are good things or bad things, or whether those are existential things like last year. And if they just, sink your teeth into it, you've got them right there.
Yeah. I mean, we know that the, best picture is not a plurality. It is a consensus vote, and it's a preferential ballot. So it's not just
think about where
being the most popular.
How many people have you talked to where Belfast is low on their favorite films of the year?
Not low, but just not like
not to the point where it's like, of the films in the race, it's more on the top than it is the bottom, correct?
Sure, yeah. And your movie has to be, in either spot 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
Otherwise that's it. Once you're anywhere else, you're just kind of ground meat. At that
the fascinating conversation is what is in the third spot.
Yeah, because that's actually could be the movie that wins, because that's consensus right there. That's how it happens.
Is it Licorice Pizza?
No.
Is it Dune?
Probably
is
not.
It Power of the Dog?
Maybe.
Is it West Side Story after everyone starts seeing it? Is it something we see later this week in Nightmare Alley?
Tomorrow.
Is it and then that's really it, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, unless the Matrix Resurrections is somehow
resurrecting that franchise into Oscar relevancy.
Maybe. I mean, I held
actually
off.
It's Spider-Man. What are we we're fucking around? Yeah, it's Spider-Man.
I held off my best director and best picture predictions until literally the last day of the month. They just dropped today because I wanted to wait until I saw West Side Story. I couldn't wait, obviously, to see Nightmare Alley because that's December 1st. But as soon as I do my Frontrunner Friday predictions, we'll see how much that movie is going to potentially change or impact the race. And that's actually a great segue to what I wanted to talk about next, and that's late breakers, newness and recency bias when it comes to favorites and predictions, and that we have all of these really great reviewed or received movies so far that are non-festival runs. Don't Look Up, West Side Story, Being the Ricardos, Licorice Pizza, that are going to have a really hard time gathering momentum, like we mentioned a bit ago, over things that already have it. But it's a pretty big slate of movies that all want to crack that top 10 when we have things that feel really pretty solid.
Yeah, let me put my thinking cap on. In that, I think that a lot of these movies are getting glowing reviews, and they're also movies that I think we were starting to try to figure out which of the top contenders left were going to break in, and then how many of the films that are smaller could replace them. I think from our last conversation, there's only one that has really felt like it ain't happening, and that's House of Gucci. But there's still the possibility that this Academy goes wacko for it, and it gets in Leto, costumes, just a bunch of makeup, random things. Like it gets like 4 or 5 because like, it goes back to the days when we had 10 where there was like a winner's bone gets like, I think 2 nominations or the kids are all right, or you got 3. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Eric. The kids are all right where it gets a couple, it doesn't
Serious Man got
a
2.
Serious Man, yeah, where it gets 2. Or even the year after when we first went to the whole staggered system and like Extremely Loud and Incredibly Bad, I mean Close, gets in there with 2 nominations. So it's or The Post even,
The Blind
gets
Side.
Marrow and The Blind Side and stuff like that. So it is interesting, like that which of these movies this year could be like that. Like Come On could totally be that. It could be a screenplay in a picture. You know what I
but
mean?
Come On has played festivals and won audience awards, so
That's
not
fair.
quite the same. But
No, but when you're going up against movies directed by Steven Spielberg, Guillermo del Toro, Paul Thomas Anderson, and they're huge productions, that's the thing. It's like we're waiting for some of these. It's not that we don't want these movies to be good, because we want them to be good, but when they're all good for the most part, it goes, holy shit, how the hell are we supposed to pick this stuff?
Yeah.
And recency bias is a thing in this Academy. They're notorious for
I think it's more of a thing with pundits than it is the Academy.
Oh, well, there are still movies that break late. Like Adam McKay's movies always break late now. There was a run where Clint would release a movie very late and then he won a Best Picture doing that. People sort of adapted that style. 1917 is another film that went very late into that season. Phantom Thread, the way that they're doing the Licorice Pizza sort of release reminds me of that. But I agree, but I do agree with you. I think there needs to be some restraint because I think that we need to see some of these movies be seen by more than just 1 or 2 audiences of critics that are, like just there at nice fancy theaters. Like, I want to say that mine was very unbiased because it was me and 1 other critic last night. So it wasn't like and I didn't talk to anybody. I was just me, myself, get out of there and get out of downtown San Antonio alive. But I think that like, though there have been like releases of some of these movies and they've gone a little flat in terms of box office, in terms of reception by audiences. Like I think of a movie like Spencer is a movie that has kind of come and gone and is not as strong as when people were tweeting their things out of Telluride that went viral, and and other things like that.
Who that would be.
I don't know who that would be. Hyperbole, man.
Oh, well, weird.
I don't know, weird guy. But no, I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Because you've been in this, since the first Academy Awards. So you'll know that in all seriousness, though, you've been doing this a long time. I think it's getting worse and worse though each year. But a lot of these big films were delayed until now, and we're going to see them. And feels like at a certain point we can get like a wheel and randomly pull out a name, and we can all say
that's why we have all these big names like this. I mean, Nightmare Alley and West Side Story would have been last year.
Dune would have been last year. Yeah. The Last Duel was supposed to be last year.
Yeah. So we have all of these things all happening at once.
I think King Richard was supposed to be last year.
I don't know. It probably would have been strange.
It would have been very late.
Had all those movies been last year as
well.
I
know they've been shooting that movie, I think, around that time. So
yeah. You mentioned House of Gucci, and there is an interesting factor with that movie, and that's its box office, which is pretty strong, pretty good. Yeah.
You know what? You're not wrong there. Yeah.
So, and
it didn't do terribly.
No,
it didn't do terribly with the critics. It did pretty well.
Its reviews are fine. I think it's still fresh. I think it's like 60 or 61.
Oh, which is 8 points off the what we really want that to be, right?
Which is, oh my goodness, which is right there at the cusp. But that's the kind of thing that could be enough for that movie, because if we are talking about a season where voters do want to celebrate theatrical films after a year of having none, then that's what we're talking about. We're talking about Dune and House of Gucci.
We're talking about Jared Leto as a pizza man. like literally like the most stereotypical voice on the planet. And
that Luigi motherfucker. My God.
It's amazing that he did his Super Mario voice, audition for that entire movie and no one said stop.
I know. I mean, how did Chris Pratt get the Mario job when you've got Jared Leto right there doing a whole Mario movie?
It feels like Jared Leto had a mouth of SpaghettiOs the entire time. It was crazy.
I'm telling you. But yes, to be serious, because I do think that the box office of the film is going to have a very positive impact on voters. And I always beat the drum that every single year is its own year for voters. Whatever's happening socially, politically, in the United States or even out of the United States, those are all things that impact decisions and passion all the time. And if the focus this year, because last year, that's all I could think about. I was, even as we were in the longest Oscar season of all time, I was thinking about next year and thinking that once we're back in theaters, as much as we are.
And finally, today's podcast is supported by Amazon Studios presenting Val. For over 40 years, Val Kilmer documented his own life and craft through thousands of hours of footage, from 16mm home movies to time spent in iconic roles for blockbuster movies. Winner of 3 Critics' Choice Documentary Association Awards, and praised by the Associated Press as a remarkably intimate film, a lifetime in the making. For your consideration in all categories, including Best Documentary Feature, Val is streaming now on Prime Video.
Is that going to be the overriding narrative of the awards season, that theaters are back, studio movies are back? We're going to have a lot of studio movies getting Best Picture nominations, more so than the indies, I think, this year. And that's going to be a key factor if that's the case.
I mean, MGM could have 3?
I think it's unrealistic. I don't think I will ever predict a single studio to get 3 in. Netflix can still only pull off 2.
But the 3 are, what is it? It's House of Gucci and
Licorice Pizza.
But
I mean, they have a lot. They have Respect, but it's...
Don't they have something else?
And Cyrano.
Big? Cyrano, yeah.
But
which some people think Cyrano is so... some people think that Cyrano could be the late breaker and all this, and I'm like, yeah, right.
No, it can't be. I mean, that's coming out in limited release on Christmas Day, but that also had a really good festival run.
It did, and Dinklage is not out of it.
No, not at all. Not at all.
That's the thing too. Is I think with a lot of these movies, I've talked to you about this off air and stuff, is that all these movies are across the board contenders.
Yeah.
And so we don't know how the hell there's only 5 spots in every category except picture. Mm-hmm. So you start going and what is the Academy's favorites? Mm-hmm. And across the board wise, a movie like King Richard isn't as across the board as a Dune or I
understand what you're saying.
Nightmare,
but it doesn't have to be. That's the thing.
It doesn't have to be. But when
a movie like King Richard has a lower bar of what it needs, but it still has to hit that bar.
Exactly. It's got a margin of error that's less. Its margin of error is very risky than I think some of these others, because it's that could get 10 nominations.
Yes.
If it doesn't land, it's 6.
Yes.
Then it's screwed.
Exactly.
And Belfast is probably more across the board than something
sure.
like that.
It
for
can
sure.
It can be a technical juggernaut. It can still get sound and
Production
cinematography
design,
and production design and all of those things.
Costumes.
But look at so we'll take Dune and King Richard together and compare them to, or I will, Roma and Green Book. Roma, obviously, huge double-digit nominations and several wins. Green Book only needed either directing or editing, and editing even more than directing. and it got it. It got the editing
Well, it got
nomination.
the big one, which was the screenplay.
Yeah, no, but I mean for nominations.
Okay. You needed one. Yeah, you needed one or the other because
yes,
in the modern era, in any era, it's like this statistic blew my mind because that's why I ended up not picking 1917 the year it happened, because you have to have at least editing or an acting nomination. You need to have two of the three things. You need to have editing, acting, acting nom in screenplay. And 1917 only had screenplay.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't.
So that's what I look at when I think of something like, what does Dune need? What does King Richard need? King Richard needs an editing nomination. It's absolutely a movie that can get one too.
It's absolutely a movie with a lot of editing because of the tennis sequences. So yeah, no, for sure. What I'm saying is that without these other factoring films, these late breakers, right?
Yes.
You can easily see the world happening for King Richard.
Mm-hmm.
You can easily see the world happening for, like, even Licorice Pizza is another film I think you can also, even though it's kind of on the fringe of being a late breaker because it's been screening for early, but whatever.
It's out.
You look at, you think it's out? Oh, you think it's out?
No, I mean the movie's out. It's not,
the movie's out and everything. But like, the thing about that is then you start adding in these bigger films with these talented people behind it that have won Oscars before, that have been around, that are working with the likes of Steven Spielberg and the likes of Guillermo del Toro. And you're going, okay, those are spots. If they're good, those are spots that could be taken. And then a surprise like being the Ricardos, which is I think an a potential across the board contender as well, because of its time period, because of its production design, its makeup, its acting, its writing. I don't think directing is on the table, but I mean, crap, he was very close last year, and it's much better direction this year going around than it was for Trial of Chicago 7. So, and they love Sorkin. So there is that. I mean, no, they like his movies. I mean, his movies that he's pinned have done pretty well. He's had 3 Best Picture nominated writing efforts over the last, 2 decades, which is it's more than safe for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's more to even say than Paul Thomas Anderson, which says a lot. But they like him. He was like one of the leaders of the. I'm not arguing this with you. Like, people, the Academy loves Aaron Sorkin. It's on record.
Not Steve Jobs, but okay.
Well, I mean, that's Danny Boyle's fault, but that's beside the point. But no, it's. I don't know how you cannot put in a bunch of these new contenders in there, but cautiously, it's weird. That's why I like doing the predictions in my head, and I had to start writing them down on paper. And I go, my God, all of like movies like you were touting, like Macbeth, that's just gone.
Yeah, I took it out today.
Like, from so many places. Like,
yeah, the
idea of even maybe possibly Denzel not getting in is on the table. Even though I loved him, I see the film.
We could do a podcast on that whole category on its own, and we probably will in the future.
But I mean, I don't know. I'm
looking at my list, and like all of these movies we're talking about, there are almost enough movies to make a top 10 list that are these late breaker non-festival movies.
Yes.
So I have West Side Story and Licorice Pizza and Nightmare Alley all in my top 10, but I can't do much more than that.
What did you kick out?
I kicked out The Tragedy of Macbeth, and I kicked out Flea finally.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Well, I wanted to hold on to it.
I know you got.
I could.
We have hope, but that was never going to happen.
I had a whole lot of stuff, in very early on. My West Side Story was much higher early on, and we're working with good on paper kind of predictions.
Do you still have Coda in?
I never had Coda in.
Okay, because I've been seeing that as like the trendy.
Yeah, I think that's possible too. And it's 2 wins at Gotham. Just give it, more visibility. But so I put West Side Story and Spielberg in it at 5 today, which is a big jump. But I have to look at the list and go, Where are my festival movies? Where are my critical hits? Where are my box office movies that don't have to be critical hits? Where are my late breakers that had no festival run? And I'm not going to put 5 non-festival movies in a list of top 10.
But it could happen.
I don't think it can.
Which is nuts. No, but
see,
it could.
I mean, I don't have Don't Look Up in there, and I know plenty of people that do.
Yeah,
people have it in director, and I mean, like all over
screenplay.
Like
screenplay is a nightmare now. Like trying to figure out original screenplay is.
I know but it's fun. But it's fun.
It's like to even think about it. It makes my head hurt because I sit there and I go, they could go so many ways.
Well, then we'll save that for another conversation too.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that could take some time.
Okay, but I do you have Ricardo's then?
No, and this is so embarrassing. I was so rushed this morning. I forgot to put it in completely.
Yeah.
Even in my like other contenders in both categories, and I had to add it later because I was like, what am I doing?
The erasure of
this I know, with my Legend Kidman and everything, who I think is getting in, and actually a secret spoiler at number 2. But again, another conversation.
I'm gonna say it right now, and we can pin it for now, but I think she's gonna win. So there you go.
I know a lot of people that think she's gonna win SAG and just kind of like start going. And
because Eric, it's a better performance than Kristen Stewart.
Ryan, this is your last podcast.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. I mean, there's so much up in the air.
There really is.
Not Jason Reitman. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Wow. That's so funny. Yeah. I was just rewatching Oscar nomination and winner announcements, and too bad about him. Yeah, it's all right.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Anyway, all right. I want to wrap up because, like I said, you'll be listening to this on December 3rd or later, and at that point, we'll have New York Film Critics will have announced, National Board of Review will have announced the satellite nominations.
National Board of Review,
which I know, and they are something. Will have announced, and the Hollywood Critics Association. All of those are going to be happening on top of the beginning of regional critics like Detroit and a whole bunch of will be happening at that point. And these podcasts will start coming at you pretty fast and furious rather than like once or twice a year like I've been doing.
If they're fast and furious,
you're going to be so sick of me.
Does that mean we'll be their family?
Actually, Helen Mirren is going to get nominated for supporting actress for Fast and Furious 9.
Fuck yeah.
You heard it here first.
Well, there you go.
Exactly. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you.
Oh, well, look at there.
I know. I'm just being nice for the cameras, So the people
behind the scenes.
Wow, that Eric guy is so nice to his writers.
No, he's not.
But not behind the scenes, kids. Nah.
No, we're gonna unionize.
It's David O. Russell time.
Oh my god. Oh my god. What is wrong with you?
I didn't say that.
You're gonna throw the Canterbury glass right in my face? Is that what you're gonna do?
Yeah, maybe I will. Ryan, please tell the lovely listeners where they can find you.
Well, I can't wait for those National Board Review nominations to come out. Cry Macho, Best Picture. Let's go, baby.
They'll already be out. So let's call it.
Let's call it like it. You know what?
It's gonna be Tender Bar and Cry Macho, like all the way. All the way.
No, actually, I think what did I have predicted there? I don't know. I think West Side Story is gonna take it.
Yeah, I popped it into like picture, but yeah, we'll see. It might go. They might go deep.
Yeah, you did pop it in deep.
Wow, this is a family show. The family show. Yeah, Ryan, where can people find you? Not that anybody really should at this point.
Well, if they want to find me, then they're gonna link back to the damn site.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Ryan McQuade 77. You can find my work here at AwardsWatch because I'm a staff writer, bitches, and we have some pretty exciting things that we're not going to talk about, but we're just going to tease and say they're very appetizing. And you can also find my work at In Session Film, at Film Speak, Awards Radar. You can also find my other podcast that I do with Kevin Lee, At Busting the Block, we're taking kind of a hiatus again because we're so very busy and the season's been nuts. But
it's
Kevin
such a
and
fun
I-
podcast. I love that podcast. That's a great idea.
Eric's been on, and we want to have him on again.
I do. I love it's totally my wheelhouse. These
It's chaos,
disaster blockbusters. I love them.
Yeah. I think like Armageddon would be wonderful with you.
I would do Deep Impact or a Deep
You would
Impact,
do a Deep Impact.
Deep Impact Armageddon double Busting the Block.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I do
You're having
too.
the tips touch there. Good for
Yes, it's busting the dock. All right. Yes. So that's where you can find Ryan. And obviously, if you are listening and follow me, then you can go to awardswatch.com, on Twitter at awards_watch, and AwardsWatch just everywhere else. And thank you everybody for listening. And let's get this season started.